Tensions continue to rise in Lebanon as U.S. Deputy Special Envoy for the Middle East, Morgan Ortagus, meets with top Lebanese officials following Israeli airstrikes in southern Lebanon. Meanwhile, violence escalates in Gaza, with 15 Palestinians reported dead from Israeli airstrikes. Welcome to this Qnews special coverage, where we bring you the latest updates on these developments.
كل المستهدفين هن مدنيين.
وضع شيء مرعب، شيء بخوف.
U.S. Deputy Special Envoy for the Middle East, Morgan Ortagus, has visited Lebanon, meeting with key Lebanese officials, including President Joseph Aoun, Prime Minister Nawaf Salam, and Parliament Speaker Nabih Berri. The discussions came after Israel's airstrike killed a Hamas commander in southern Lebanon, further destabilizing a fragile ceasefire brokered by the U.S. between Israel and Hezbollah. The ceasefire has been under increasing strain in recent weeks. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun has held a constructive meeting with the U.S. Deputy Envoy to the Middle East, Morgan Ortagus. They discussed pressing issues, including the situation in South Lebanon, the Lebanese-Syrian border, and the urgent need for financial and economic reforms to combat corruption. Prior to the official discussions, President Aoun and Ortagus had a private one-on-one session. Lebanese Prime Minister Nawaf Salam has met with U.S. Deputy Special Envoy Morgan Ortagus and her delegation to discuss Lebanon's financial and economic reforms. Ortagus commended the government's efforts, including lifting banking secrecy and anti-corruption measures, and emphasized the need for an IMF agreement. They also addressed southern Lebanon security, Israeli troop withdrawal, and the Lebanese-Syrian border situation. Earlier, Ortagus met Lebanese President Joseph Aoun at Bahab Palace. Lebanese House Speaker Nabih Berri has met with U.S. Deputy Special Envoy to the Middle East, Morgan Ortagus, and her delegation at Ain Tina Palace, accompanied by U.S. Ambassador Lisa Johnson and Berri's media advisor Ali Hamdan. The discussions lasted over an hour, focusing on Israeli violations in Lebanon, the situation on the ground, and the needed reforms in financial, economic, and administrative sectors. Berri provided a list of 18 reform laws passed by Parliament, awaiting additional bills. The meeting was described as good and constructive. And for further analysis, we're joined from Beirut by strategic political analyst Abdullah Nama. Mr. Abdullah, thank you so much for joining us on this special coverage. And I want to start by asking you about the meeting held in Lebanon within the presence of the U.S. envoy at this special time to discuss the fragility of the ceasefire. What is the strategic significance of it at this timing?
Good afternoon to you and to the audiences. This visit of Ortega came in a very delicate time for Lebanon and in the region. In the middle of the changes of the new Middle East that the U.S. working on it, and Lebanon, of course, in the concern. The envoy deputy had met with Nawaf Salam and the President Aoun, and the response of the three Lebanese, the President was one, that Lebanon has agreed that Resolution 1701, including Hezbollah disarmament. The most important point into the discussions that Lebanon, along with three presidents, including the Shiite faction, agreed on demarcation between Lebanon and Israel under the supervision of the five-member committee, and the issue of the 5 point and the Israeli withdrawal, as the United States should pressure Israel to withdraw from these points, as Israel is still occupying the southern area, and also to agreed upon in the ceasefire agreement. And Ortega's did not give to Lebanon a deadline for the handed over the arms of Hezbollah and lifted the matters for the Lebanese authorities, that they promised her that the Lebanon in the north upon the strategy, a defensive strategy of Lebanon that would allow negotiation concerning the arms of Hezbollah and to be on the hands of the Lebanese authority. It is most important that the U.S. administration understood that the swift withdrawal of the arms would make a problem, a confessional problems in Lebanon, that Lebanon wouldn't be anymore and would let Lebanon...
Sorry for cutting in, but speaking of this point exactly, when they discussed the Israeli troops withdrawal from southern Lebanon, to what extent can U.S. mediation help achieve that point specifically and preserve the fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah amid these escalating tensions?
This that was tackled through the talks about, which is the Israeli withdrawal of the 5 points and to respect the ceasefire. Following the president said to Ortega that the Lebanese are in whatever is possible regarding the implementation to the resolution 1701, meaning that they make all the arrangements by the attendance of the five-member committee presided by the American generals representing the USA. And I think it is comforted Ortega, and there was a promise or a sort of a pledge by the three presidents to implement the resolution 1701 completely. If this would happen, that means we are going towards some sort of a truce or the implementation of the 1701 and the ceasefire that would reach to the truce issue between Lebanon and Israel. They said to Ortega, the normalization isn't possible at this point. Back to the truce agreement between Lebanon and Israel, and this would happen when Israel respected the resolution and to abide by the ceasefire as well as the Israeli withdrawal. And the USA should be guaranteed and to move towards this direction along with Israel to pressure Israel to respecting the resolution and the issue of implementing the ceasefire and to avoid any violations by Israel. As we all
sorry
know,
for cutting in once again, but among the topics they've discussed during the meeting was the Lebanese-Syrian border, especially with Israel stepping up its strikes on Syria, and this is related to Lebanon's internal stability. How do Israeli military actions and continued violations impact Lebanon's internal stability and its relations with the United States as well?
Today, Lebanon's commitment by implementing the resolution 1701, along with the Mr. Premier and the Lebanese speaker, along the dual Shiite factions, Hezbollah and so Lebanon is committed completely to the implementation, meaning that the arms of Hezbollah would be implemented and resolved within a consultative resolution consultations throughout these three presidents to withdraw the Hezbollah arms in Litani, Snurs, and all Lebanese territory. When Ortega heard that Lebanon is committed to implement the 1701 and vowed to disarm Hezbollah, was some sort of a guarantee, and even the three presidents on the same page that they wish to implement a resolution, no normalization with Israel, and withdraw the arms of Hezbollah along with Hezbollah's approval, as announced in the Housekeeper, and to implement the resolution completely, meaning to withdraw the arms from Hezbollah within the consultation to within Lebanon. Most importantly, that Hezbollah says we will hand over our arms with provided that Israel to stop the violation and to stop the airstrikes in the south of Lebanon and in Beirut. Israel should also be obliged to implement the resolution, as they are the signatory of the agreement along with the USA as a guarantee. So today, for the USA to practice pressures upon Israel to implement the resolution 1701 and to stop violating the Lebanese authority. So for the 5 members committee to follow up along with the US general, like what's happening in Lebanon, and also to form a follow-up committees to be fostered and to do the process of demarcation, which is a disagreement between Lebanon and Israel. But the issue of normalization isn't going to be applicable between Lebanon and Israel, but we are satisfied to the truce along with the resolution 1701 that would include the Syrian borders also to implement the same resolution in the same way, and to have also a commitment by Lebanon with regard to the border Syrian and Lebanese-Syrian border. So it was a successful and constructive visit that satisfied the public opinion in Lebanon. Even she also visited the chief of the army and Samir Jajad, and tomorrow she will make a visit with the governor of Lebanon Bank to listen the reforms that requested by the USA regarding the financial reforms, along with the appointment into the ministries, which are one of the U.S. demands in Lebanon. As we all know, Lebanon isn't going to bear any risk with respect to security. Following the war, people never went to their villages as they are fully demolished, and even they are getting
yes, sir. Your point is clear. Sorry for cutting in once again. But lastly, I would like to delve into Lebanon's political matters. How realistic is an IMF agreement for Lebanon, given the country's current political divisions and the slow pace of reform?
Certainly, the agreement upon the implementation of 1701, the calm will spread in the southern front. The process of reforms are underway, even in the appointment in the ministries regarding all the posts, as 20,000 jobs were filled, as there was no appointment during the presidency vacuum before. So even we've seen new appointment by the government that would implement the US requested agenda to make the reforms in Lebanon along with the finance reform. As we know, the Minister of Finance is heading to New York to have a meeting with the International Bank in order to hand over Ministry of Finance planned regarding the financial reform. Ortega's visit tomorrow with the governor of the central bank in Lebanon is following the same point. I think all the matters are going smoothly upon the demand of the United States of America. And even the Hezbollah has nothing to do with the new appointments. In the contrary of the previous, Hezbollah used to do this before, but now all the new appointments are away totally from Hezbollah, and Hezbollah has nothing to do with this. That would give some sort of stability in the Lebanese state to establish an actual state, the full domination from Lebanon on all sectors affiliated to the Lebanese state and even the non-affiliated state, meaning the private sector. In the meantime, private sector used to be affiliated with Hezbollah, but this some sort of internal reform that keep Hezbollah away, that matter satisfied Ortega, that's made by the Lebanese state along with the ministry, and the cabinet is only have 2 months in form.
Sorry, sir, for interrupting you due to the shortage of time. From Beirut, that was the strategic political analyst, Abdullah Nama. Thank you so much for joining us here on Q News and for all the information you provided us with. And now we move on to the latest developments in Gaza. At least 15 Palestinians were killed in renewed Israeli airstrikes across Gaza, according to local health officials. 2 of the victims died in a strike near the entrance to Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital in Deir al-Balah. Israeli forces also expanded ground operations in both northern and southern Gaza, supported by air and artillery fire. In the Palestinian side of Rafah, a strike on a residential home in Al-Nasr district killed 1 and injured several others. Meanwhile, 8 civilians were reported killed in Khan Yunis and Gaza City. Footage retrieved from the mobile phone of a medic killed in Gaza has cast doubt on Israeli claims surrounding last month's attack on Palestinian rescue teams. Published by the New York Times, the video shows clearly marked ambulances and fire trucks with emergency lights flashing, directly contradicting Israeli assertions that the vehicles approached suspiciously and without signals. The remains of 15 aid workers were later found in a mass grave, having been killed in an Israeli strike on March 23rd. The Israeli army previously denied deliberately targeting the vehicles, claiming soldiers fired only after perceiving a threat. The Gaza government media office has condemned Israel's killing of 15 aid workers, describing the strike as a mass execution of medical and civil defense teams. The office released a statement after footage surfaced showing the clearly marked emergency vehicles under fire. It also held Israel and the United States fully responsible for the ongoing genocide in Gaza, calling for international accountability. For further analysis, we're joined from the occupied Jerusalem by the international law professor at Al-Quds University, Dr. Munir Nusayba. Dr. Munir, thank you so much for joining us here on this special coverage. And let me start by asking you, how do you interpret the statement by the Gaza government media office calling the aid worker killings a mass execution? I would like to know your take on this from an international legal perspective.
Thank you for having me. Well, unfortunately, Israel has returned to targeting not only civilians, but also continuously targeting the medical personnel and medical facilities in the Gaza Strip. And this attack has been, a significant recent one. It is very important that this issue has been documented. And the facts have been examined, and therefore it is very easy to conclude that the Israeli army intentionally targeted this medical convoy.
Mm-hmm. The Secretary General of the IFRC also described the targeting of the aid workers as a grave violation of international law. What mechanisms, if any, exist to hold accountable those responsible for such acts?
Yes, there are many mechanisms actually. One of them is the ongoing mechanism in the International Court of Justice in the case South Africa versus Israel in the genocide case. Because yes, targeting medical facilities and personnel is a war crime, but also when this happens within this widespread manner, in a targeting to destroy part of the Palestinian people, as such in the Gaza Strip, this amounts to genocide, as has been argued by many human rights organizations, by UN experts, special rapporteurs. This is an ongoing genocide. Therefore, the South Africa versus Israel case is another important case where this will be examined as part of the genocidal war that Israel is, or genocidal campaign that Israel is waging on the Palestinian people. But also another mechanism, important mechanism, is the International Criminal Court, which examines the responsibility of individuals for crimes, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide. This international court has already issued arrest warrants against Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, as well as Yoav Gallant, the former defense minister. However, this court is continuing to investigate several allegations of crimes that Israel is conducting, and I am quite confident that the Office of the Prosecutor will find sufficient evidence for more crimes the more they investigate, and this one being one of them, and will pursue further arrest warrants not only against Netanyahu and Gallant, but probably against other Israeli leaders. Now, it is unfortunate that there are countries that refuse to abide by international law. We have seen how Hungary yesterday received Benjamin Netanyahu without arresting him. They should have arrested him according to their obligations in international law. They are a state member of, Hungary is a state member of the International Criminal Court, but instead they decided to withdraw from the International Criminal Court. Mm-hmm. So this is an unfortunate setback to international law and to the,
yes, sir.
Yes.
And adding to the crimes and alongside targeting the medical personnel, Israel has also been targeting the water infrastructure. Can you elaborate on the broader impact on this, especially in the context of public health?
Yeah, the targeting of the water system in Gaza Strip is very systematic, is very widespread, and it actually affects every individual in the Gaza Strip. The access to water right now in the Gaza Strip is very difficult, and it's very rare for people to be able to find clean, usable water, whether for drinking or for other purposes. Uh, we have already noticed that diseases and pandemics are spreading in the Gaza Strip. Um, uh, Famine and hunger and different levels of hunger are also spreading. And the more that Israel insists to use starvation, and which includes, by the way, preventing access to water as a weapon of war, the more this will lead to widespread, irreversible damage to the lives and health and physical well-being. Of course, not to mention the mental well-being, by the way, as well, but physical well-being of the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. The level of harm that this is causing is unimaginable.
From occupied Jerusalem, that was the international law professor at Al-Quds University, Dr. Munir Nusayba. Thank you so much for joining us here on Q News and for all the information you provided us with. And this brings us to the end of our special coverage on the Middle East. Don't forget to follow Q News on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at Q News EG to stay informed. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more updates on Q News.